Hi, I'm Matt from MEDUZA, and you're listening to House Culture Podcast.
House Culture.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode in this third season of the House Culture Podcast. As always, I am your host and the managing editor at House Culture, Matt Rouse. Hopefully you're all safe and well wherever you might be listening right now. I don't know about you, but I'm counting down the days until we can all be together on the dance floor again. We're so nearly there, party people. I'd like to personally welcome any new listeners to the House Culture Podcast. Remind you that you can get some dusty digital fingertips by flicking through our huge back catalogue of episodes that feature chats with dance music royalty, such as David Morales, Fatboy Slim, Terry Farley, Ashley Beadle, Danny Rampling and Danny Tenaglia. You can also listen to our sit-downs with some of the scene's most interesting characters, such as a man called Adam vocalist Sally Rogers, Pike's Hotel's creative director Dawn Hindle, and Burning Man legend the Scumfrog. We handpick all of our guests, so even if you don't recognise their name, I guarantee you'll be interested in the story they have to tell. And for those who still don't know what house culture is or what we stand for, we are a collective of house music fans who have come together through our mutual love of the beat to celebrate the spirit of house music. We're on Instagram at houseculture.net, so meet us there and we can celebrate everything we love about this beautiful movement together. Let's get on with this next episode, shall we? In this one, we're continuing our third season trend of speaking to people who are at the forefront of the scene right now. You can't get much bigger than MEDUZA. This Italian trio have burst onto the scene with mega hits such as Piece of Your Heart and Paradise. We caught up with the main man, Matt, where he told us about how him and his bandmates work together in the studio.
What we do in the studio is trying to find the best way, but we are sure 100% when we all agree on one idea, that one is the right one.
What it's like when you produce a huge house music hit.
We noticed that something was moving when we released Piece of Your Heart. It was the first single. From that moment, we noticed probably something big was happening. From that moment, our life completely changed.
Why we all need a little more house music in our lives.
I think people need house music not only in the clubs to dance, but also like we used to do in the past, needs to sing house music during the day in the car, at work, because house music is, compared to the other music, is the same thing. It's always music.
And the importance of entertaining your fans.
We do music for passion, and if we can give part of this passion to the people and give them also one of their best day, it's done.
This one was recorded live and direct from Matt's base in Italy, and I know you're gonna love it. This is MEDUZA.
House Culture.
Hi Matt, it's great to have you join us on the House Culture Podcast today. Thanks so much for taking the time to do so. You're a driving force within MEDUZA, one of the biggest acts currently in the house music scene. Your singles have had billions of streams, you've been nominated for a Grammy Award, and you've collaborated with some huge stars along the way. However, we always want to start at the beginning and understand how you got to where you are today. Growing up in Italy, can you tell us about how you first discovered house music there?
Wow, we made all these things.
Sounds good, right?
Yes, that's really good. My past was it's really normal. There's nothing particular to say. I mean, just a normal guys following his passion for music, and just grew up with friends. There are Simone and Luca, the other members of MEDUZA, and we were just sharing our passion for music in different way, like playing some shows in Italy as a local DJs, and being a studio, just playing random music and making random music, and then growing up like that with our musical background. I have to say thankful to my dad for that. That he introduced me to the jazz and rock and the music in general. and he shared with me the same passion that he had for music. And just that, I mean, there's, as I said, there's nothing particular. We just normal guys following their passion.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, you've already mentioned the other two guys that are in MEDUZA with you. Obviously, you're a trio. How did you first originally meet? You said you kind of grew up together and you're DJing together as a collective. How did that happen? Did you go to the same school or work together somehow? How did you all get together?
We live close to each other, so it was pretty easy to be in touch. But then, especially when you live in the same city and you go out and go to the same pub or to the same disco, and then you meet the same people. So the circle is that one. You everyone got friends in common, and every place you go, you see the same people. So it's easy to stay in touch, to talk with the same people, being in the same studio, and trying to start doing something together.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in music, when everything is music is like a community. So you are in the studio and you try to do something in music with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
One day with Luca, one day with Simone, and then you notice that there's a kind of feeling in what you do that is different from the rest, and you continue collaborating with these kind of people, and then you create a kind of team around you, and then everything it goes natural, like it happened like that.
Mm-hmm. And what was the scene, the house music, clubbing, dance music scene like in that community when you were before even MEDUZA was a thing? You know, were you going out clubbing, experiencing all of that? Were you traveling around much in Italy to try and like participate in this scene?
Yeah, it was more a studio thing.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds, what I'm saying, it sounds not so good because I'm a DJ, but I don't love to go to the disco personally.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a personal thing. Like every time I go to a club, I have to look at the DJ and see what he's doing and say, oh no, he's doing right, he's doing wrong. So I don't want this kind of pressure every time I go to a club. So I just go to a pub and then having fun with friends. But as I said, it's just a studio thing. We have a personal, an own studio where we create music, and every day someone is coming into the studio and trying to get something to do something together. That's pretty much the rule that we have in music. So it's not about growing up and then it's together like as friends, but more as a musical friends, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And, you know, obviously there are three of you, you know, some say three heads are better than one. He's just pulled a face. How do you manage the egos and disagreements between three of you? Obviously, you know, if one person's in charge and it's their own project, you know, it's just like, okay, I'm going to do it this way. Whereas if there's three of you, you know, is there many conflicting opinions between yourselves, or do you think that helps generate the best?
Now we argue every day in the studio. This happens every single day, but it's not a personal thing, you know. It's just for the music, so you just want the best and you just aim for the best. As a result, you can see the music that we release is coming after years or maybe months of work, because as you said, we are free to trying to have the same opinion and have the same idea is quite impossible. So we're trying, what we do in the studio is trying to find the best way that we all agree. I mean, but we are sure 100% when we all agree on one idea, that one is the right one.
Yeah. And who looks after, you know, do you have any particular roles between each other in the studio? You know, does one person particularly look after one thing? How does that work?
Nah, that's not a particular role for everyone in the studio. I mean, they are a musician. I'm not a musician, but I just can play them some random notes on the piano because I studied privately, so I'm not as good as them.
Mm-hmm.
But I just can share some ideas like they do, and create something from zero. I mean, that there's no specific process in the studio. Everything comes from the inspiration that you have during that day, and everyone can have a different inspiration.
Yeah. And I mean, you guys have exploded onto the scene, kind of out of nowhere in a sense. What? Tell us about the first time you're all in the studio together, kind of creating something. Was there a long lead up to get the success that you've had, or did it just happen immediately?
To be honest, it happened. We didn't know it was something big like that. We noticed that something was moving in after 2 months when we released "Piece of Your Heart." It was the first single, and we noticed that it went viral in the UK because of the pre-drop. When Josh was singing, "What Sorry," just quickly, what if it's, and to be honest, that was a natural thing in studio. It was not how can I say?
It wasn't written that way.
Yeah, it was. We were in the studio, and it was
Mm-hmm.
just talking to us through the vocal room, and then it was just said this exactly thing in the pre-drop. So it was like an accident, you know. And from that moment, we noticed, as I said, it went viral in 2 months in the UK and in the US, and from that moment, we noticed there was probably something big was happening.
Yeah.
From that moment, our life completely changed,
Mm-hmm.
and we discovered there was a completely another word and way to work in music business. There was not just being in the studio because of your passion and making music, but just making music and do what you love every day as a job.
Mm-hmm.
That is what everyone is the dream that you have since you're a child, like making your passion your daily job.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, just to kind of circle back to "Piece of Your Heart" in the studio, you said about how that was kind of an unscripted moment, a happy accident in a way, of Josh saying through the vocal booth, the melody, and oh, hang on a sec, guys, was when that happened, was it always that's going to go straight into the track, just a knowing that was going to happen, or was it, okay, let's try this and see if it works?
Now we say 100% this gonna be like that, without any doubt. And this has to be a lot of people trying to remove that, but we said no, this is gonna be like that.
Yeah. Well, yes, and if you feel that that's the right thing, stick by your guns, and obviously that's what makes it so cool and unique. I think that it does have that in there, totally. I mean,
Exactly.
you said that it it started to get big, and you realised that you had something on your hands. I mean, those moments in the studio before it's even got out there into the wild, do you know that this is going to be a good one, or is it a sense of, okay, I'm not necessarily going to feel like I've got an opinion on it until I've got other people listening to it and a reaction to it?
To be honest, we didn't think about that because at the end of the week, when we played all the demos we made during the week, we didn't want to play that track because it was just a 10 minutes demo and really rough.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why, but I just said to Luca, "Come on, Luca, let's play that." You never know. I mean, we made it. We can say okay, it's shit. Sorry for the word, but we can literally say it like that. And so we played it, and then everything was wow. The reaction of there was the A&R and the management in the studio listening, and then the reaction from everyone was like, "Now you can see me, but the people then they don't see me." So you can describe my face. The reaction was, what is this?
Yeah,
exactly that.
Brilliant. Yeah, like complete shock, I suppose. Can you think of a moment where you first saw or heard that track, like doing the damage on the dance floor, or people, vibing off it, or people singing the lyrics back? Was tell me about those first moments of actually getting it out there to an audience.
We were playing in a club before releasing the track. We were playing, obviously, as a DJ, we tested out tracks in clubs, and we noticed that it was the first time we noticed that when you play a track to the audience for the first time and they already know the lyrics and they start singing, that can be a good one. So the feeling was like, how can they know the words of the songs? I mean, it's just na na na, but they need to know the melody. But they sing it at the first time because it was the second drop. So they heard for only the first one and for the first time, but they are singing. And it was a magical moment. The feeling, I don't know how to describe what was my feeling, because I think there are no words to describe that. It was just, when you do the best thing in your life and you're satisfied 100%, more than 100% of what you made.
Yeah, I mean, it must be incredible. And like you say, as a DJ, you've been playing in clubs and you'll be playing other people's music. It must be a even better feel, in seeing other people's music do good things to the dance floor, and then suddenly you're playing one of your own and you can see that dance floor get elevated with your own material. That must be a fantastic feeling.
Yeah, right. It's the best feeling in the world, especially because you made that track.
Absolutely. And your follow-up single "Lose Control" was another massive hit. I mean, did you feel the pressure to deliver after the success of "Piece of Your Heart," or was it a case of, okay, we're here now and the confidence built? What was that feeling?
To be honest, it was pretty natural because when we made "Lose Control," "Piece of Your Heart" was not so big. So the pressure was not so high. We got more pressure on making Paradise because we released Paradise after 1 year of release day "Lose Control." And it took 1 year to get the right track. Obviously, the pandemic helped a lot in terms of not releasing music for a long time. But when you made a track like "Piece of Your Heart" and like "Lose Control," everyone is expecting every time more from you, from your project, and it's right like that. To be honest, fans are asking for now. The music business is really fast, as you can release stuff every month. We don't do, to be honest, like that because we prefer to focus our music on quality than quantity. So we need to be sure 100% that what we're releasing is right. But yeah, I mean, "Lose Control" was just natural after "Piece of Your Heart" because it was a kind of follow-up similar with just a little bit in the top line more pop because of Becky Hill. But there was more pressure on Paradise than on "Lose Control."
Yeah. And I mean, Paradise came out, during the pandemic as well. I mean, was there a temptation to, okay, we're going to sit on this until, we can get it out into a club environment when people are on the dance floor again? Or was it a case of, okay, we just got to get it out?
Like that. We love it. We like it. Okay, let's do it.
Brilliant.
Obviously, as a DJ, we always have 1 ear listening to the radio and 1 ear listening to the club. So we need to find the right balance every time in every track. So it's a natural thing that we have in the studio.
Yeah. I mean, dance music especially is massively singles focused. Are you looking towards putting together an album or something more along an extended EP, like on a theme or anything like that? What are your thoughts on that as a dance music act?
Album is not a plan at the moment. We just want to release single by single. Probably album would be in the plan in few years when we will have more of a musical background that is going to be big enough to create an album and to present that to the audience like a full show.
Yeah.
not just a DJ show with all three of us on stage, like playing an electronic show.
Yeah. Yeah. And there is a very distinctive sound to the Medusa style. I mean, how would you describe it to someone that hadn't necessarily heard it before in a house music sense?
What we do is just trying to put the pop top line on a house backing track. I mean, it's nothing new, but is something that was not on the radio daytime since 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So what we are trying to do is trying to open this kind of business that is house music to the mainstream, and trying to bring that to the mainstream, because I think people needs house music not only in the clubs to dance and to enjoy themselves in the club, but also like we used to do in the past, needs to sing house music during the day in the car, at work, or wherever you are in the world during the day, because house music is, compared to the other music, is the same thing. It's always music. Mm-hmm. So I think we need to find the right balance. I mean, radio needs to find the right balance in creative in create their playlist, their daytime playlist, with house music, pop music, R&B, soul, jazz, and every genre of music. So only this way you can create a big culture in your country about all the stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, you've mentioned there as well about the different genres and the crossover appeal of the stuff that you've done. Obviously, your singles so far, they've like burst into the mainstream and been played. I've heard them across so many different stations here in the UK. Different, they play, different styles of music. Having that crossover appeal, being played on that many different stations, what's the strangest place where you've heard your own material? Are you hearing it pop up in airports or shops or anything like that? Obviously, we haven't been out much recently, but before that, when Piece of Your Heart was a thing.
It happened when we released Piece of Your Heart. We started traveling the world, and then to be honest, 90%. Every time I landed in a country and then I took the taxi to go to the hotel, there was on the radio Piece of Your Heart. And then I was like, wow, this is an amazing feeling. And every time I was saying to the driver, sorry, can you turn up the volume a little bit? But not saying it was me on the radio. Just, I like this song. I really loved it.
I was going to say, is there ever a temptation to be like, this is me, I made this song? But it's good that
there was every time that kind of temptation, but my ego level is like that, so I didn't want to spoil too much.
Yeah. I mean, traveling the world and performing in different countries, is it surprising hearing your own material, especially when you're playing in a live environment, hearing an audience that are on the other side of the world from where you created that song? Sometimes singing that back to you, is that a strange feeling?
Yeah, sometimes yes, but not too much, because we used to live with the music, so it's a natural thing.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, you've mentioned a lot of the collaborators that you've worked with. I'm thinking of Becky Hill. Really strong voices that add an extra dimension to your music. How do you go about choosing who you collaborate with? And, is there a checklist, or is it just a feeling?
It's every time a feeling when we ask for an artist, because we are a big part of the process in the studio in writing. We're not just taking lyrics from a songwriter and ask for a feature. When we create a lyric and we got a good lyric, we go into the studio with songwriter. We're trying to change some parts that we maybe don't like, and we think that it doesn't work. And we go directly in the studio also with the feature to try to get him in the right mood of the track, because when we work with the feature, we um, I mean, like when we have a song and we know that that song can be good for that kind of specific feature, like it was Becky Hill and Dermot Kennedy, we know how they work, how they write lyrics, so we already know. Okay, I want him or I want her on the track. Every time is not possible, obviously, because maybe they have their own plan. They're releasing their own stuff. But when we can, we go back into the studio with the feature after we wrote the songs, and we try to see if he or she is comfortable with the idea, and trying to change the track the way that they can sing at the best.
So in terms of collaborators, I did read that there's a potential collaboration or a want to collaborate with The Weeknd on both of your sides. Is that something that's on the cards, and who else would you love to collaborate with that you haven't?
Yeah, I wrote that in an interview. To be honest, every what I was reading was not true, because we want to collaborate with The Weeknd. We tried to collaborate with him. Obviously, he's pretty busy at the moment. But I don't know if it's the same feeling on his side. I mean, probably in the future, not now, but I never said he wants to collaborate with us. It's just I hope that he would love to collaborate with us.
Yeah, yeah.
But it would be a dream for us, obviously. But collaborating with people like him, like Post Malone, like Khalid, like John Legend, and these kind of artists. I mean, it's everyone's dream trying to collaborate with these people.
Yeah, yeah, and you mentioned the few people that you did mention there as well are from not necessarily from the dance music community, from that background. How important is it to you, do you think, to absorb ideas from other genres and other areas of music into what you're doing?
I think it's crucial, to be honest, because when you trying to mix few genres of music together, is that the point that you can create something unique in music? Because otherwise you just do standard thing, and then we are full, to be honest, of standard things in every. When you listen to a trap or a house or a pop playlist, it's always the same thing, track up to track. You notice that is something different when a trap artist maybe collaborate with a soul or with a country one or with a house producer. In that case, you can create something new.
Yeah, and house music itself was kind of born out of this need and want to bring in all of these different influences to create something completely new. And I think it's great that you want to push that forward, definitely. Obviously, you produce your own original material. You've also remixed quite a few people as well. You've mentioned John Legend, MK, Friendly Fires. In terms of remix work, how do you approach doing a remix of a track, and what kind of vibe do you try and bring to it? Is it a different type of gig than doing your own production? How does that work for you guys?
It's the same process. It's totally as I said, there are no rules, so it can be different every time. There's no specific process that we follow every time. It's just music. It's all about telling stories, So every time is you're inspired by what you live in, the inspiration you have in that specific day. So every time it can be different. There's nothing as standard as a role that you have to follow.
Yeah. And has there ever been any, an artist has been like, okay, we really want you to remix this track, and you've heard it, and then you're like, actually, I can't do anything with this, or, I don't want to do anything with this, or I can't improve it in.
Yeah, we said no a lot of times, but not because we didn't like the track, but because we thought when we know we are not able to do the best work we can
Mm-hmm.
because maybe the BPM is too slow, too fast, or maybe is completely out of what we are doing as a project, as a musical project. We prefer to say no to just because it's not about the money, it's just about the feeling. When
Mm-hmm.
we want to mix a track, is that okay? I love this track. I hear that I can bring some stuff from this track and putting on the Medusa sound signature and trying to create something that is interesting to listen to. Otherwise, it's just about the money. A lot of people do the okay. I got this remix to do. I can 10K, 15K, 20K, and no matter what I do,
Mm-hmm.
they ask because they want my work, and I do for the money. It's
Mm.
not our case. We just following what is our feeling inside, and we love that track. We made it. We don't love it. We prefer to say no.
That's good morals, definitely. And working together as a trio during this lockdown period, how has that worked between the three of you together? Do you think it's created more opportunities to be really creative, or do you think it's stifled any creativity? And how have you been working together as a trio during this period?
Um, it's been 50-50 to be honest,
Mm-hmm.
or explain. 50% of the inspiration, sorry, most of the time comes from the traveling, meeting other people, different cultures, listen to different genres of music that you're not used to in your country. And so when you go into the studio, then you're inspired by that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Especially during this time, we missed this 50%. So we got the other 50% that is music is all about telling stories and sharing these stories with the people. I mean, these kind of stories can be personal, or you just can tell a different story, like a love story or whatever you want. So I think in this happened with Paradise, we are just telling our personal story and sharing with the people what is our feeling about this moment.
Mm-hmm.
So you just it's like sharing emotion with the fans and with the people that you cannot sharing like playing in clubs or festival with your music, but you share with writing specific top lines that are describing your feeling at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be like that. I mean, that's why I said 50-50.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, what are your thoughts on how the scene is going to look post COVID? Do you think there's going to be more of a want to take things cautiously, or do you think that people are just going to explode out of their lockdown lives and just go crazy? How do you think it's going to happen?
I think the second one. Because I want to do the same, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, and how easy is it, or how difficult has it been to plan what you've got coming up? Even the second half of this year can look a bit sketchy in certain parts of the world. How do you bring your diary together for gigs and performances and things like that? Is it still looking a bit patchy, or are you able to organise your life for the next 6 months?
It's not easy, especially, I mean, I don't do that personally. The management and the agency do that, but talking with them every day, I can understand how difficult is this moment to trying to organize and all with all the festivals because they don't know. I mean, there's not a deadline date.
Mm-hmm.
We know something new every day following news and all this stuff, and we just know the end is really soon, but we don't know when it will be like that, and it will be safety to go back to festival or clubs all together enjoying the party. So I know it's a difficult thing, but every time it's like, okay, we don't we don't do this month, we're gonna do that next year. It's the conversation is every day like that. It's basically just moving until when we can.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, like you said, you yourself want to explode out of this life and kind of get back out there. What is it about the scene that brings this passion out in you, and what's been your most memorable or favorite experience so far in this career that you've had in dance music?
I think the best thing is just traveling the world and see all the people in different countries and singing your song in the crowd and enjoying their maybe the best day they will remember for their life, just having fun with your music. I think it's the best thing we can give them as a musician.
Absolutely.
And it is the thing we will never forget, to be honest, because we do music for passion, and if we can give part of this passion to the people and give them also one of their best day, it's I mean, it's done.
Yeah. And what are you looking forward to in terms of achieving things that you haven't done yet? Obviously, you've been nominated for a Grammy Award. You've played at huge festivals in different countries around the world. Is there anything that you particularly really, really want to do, or place that you really want to play that you haven't done yet, and why is that?
Yeah, I never played. I mean, I did Tomorrowland this year, but I was virtual. So the next step is gonna do that live.
Yeah.
And winning a Grammy.
Uh-huh.
We've been nominated, but winning is another thing.
Yeah.
And then just I think the most important thing is to have the opportunity to do this kind of life again for the next 10 years. And living the dream like we're doing every day during these years.
Brilliant. And you mentioned Tomorrowland there in terms of doing that virtually. How did you find that doing that gig in that way? Just give us some background on that and how it was. Was it weird or was it interesting?
Yeah, now in one word, was weird.
Yeah.
Because in the other streaming we did, I mean, like in Iceland, there was no one in front of you. It was a natural thing because you were in a place with just the camera in the front and nothing. But in that case, on Tomorrowland, they recreate completely the festival with all the people in the crowd moving. So it was pretty weird because the feeling was like playing there personally, but it was virtual. So in that, when I remember when I watched the entire Tomorrowland set I did for the first time after the set, I said I realized how I miss that live scene, how I miss that part in my life, because we need, as a DJ, as a musician, as an artist, we need the people to enjoy what we do, because it's crucial part of our process and on our life.
Yeah, and that feedback and that feeling is like you say, it's that connection is absolutely crucial.
Yeah, right.
So I want to talk about, we were talking before the mics came on about the perfect playlist that we put together on Spotify, and you've been really good at giving us your 5 submissions for that. There are obviously 5 tracks based on different themes that we have. I can remind you of which ones you've chosen if you can't remember, but I just want to talk about your experiences with those tracks individually and why you've chosen those. And the first one that we always start with is a Catalyst, a one track that got you into dance music originally, and you've chosen Axwell, Feel the Vibe. Can you just explain to us why that was your choice for that particular one?
I was a kid, to be honest.
That's all good.
uh, yeah, it was 2004, and I remember. I mean, in Europe, everything in music, especially everything was trance or Europop kind of thing like that. And that was the first house track I've heard. And I remember I was in the UK because I was studying there because I've been in the UK studying English for a few years when I was young, really young. I mean, I'm still young, but I was really, really young. And then I remember I heard that track, and it was the feeling was, wow, what is that? It's something. The feeling is that I really want to dance. I really want to enjoy that track, and they were just playing it on the radio. So that was the first track that got me into the house music.
That's fantastic. And a floor filler, you've chosen something that has, people have talked about already on this podcast previously, but I just want to get your feelings about this particular one. Can you remember what that was?
Faithless.
Yes.
Yeah. Insomnia. To be honest, everyone knows this track, and if you play that organ plug in a club, reaction on the dance floor is like, woo, just screaming. Everyone, you can hear everyone screaming. So I think it's the perfect floor filler.
Yeah, it's one of those ones that, like you say, everybody knows it. It's a pure classic.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you listen to. I mean, you used to listen to the club, but also on the radio. Not only in the UK, but also here in Italy, or if you go to the US, it was a common track you can hear on the radio. So it's timeless track.
Yeah, absolutely. And a sunsetter, a track that is for you perfect to soundtrack a sunset. What have you chosen for that one?
I choose Grooveyard with 7 Mile. I think I remember when I was I don't remember where, but I remember it was the first year of touring, and I was literally just running on a beach. But it was in Australia.
Okay.
And there was the sunset, and then I was listening to this song on the radio, and the feeling was fantastic. I mean, everything, like the sunset and the music and me, it was like being in a kind of bubble, and just living that moment with no one else around, and just in that moment I felt like I was okay. This is only me in the world. It's just me and my feeling.
Wow, yeah, like you say, and I think you've mentioned it a few times during this chat as well about how music and location can have a very specific connection with you as an individual as well. And yeah, like you say, if you had that come on your headphones when you're running on a beach and there's a sunset already happening, that's one of those, like you say, perfect moments where it just captures you in a bubble.
Yeah.
Cool. And a tearjerker, a track that fills you with emotion. Someone we've already mentioned during our conversation, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. It's After Hours by The Weeknd. It's a track that helped me a lot during the lockdown. And it fills me up with emotions because I think in that track, every singular sound is at the right place in the right time. I don't know how to describe it. It's a feeling you have inside when you hear it for the first time, a track, and you think that everything is perfect. And I mean, as a producer, also on my tracks, I always want to change something on the track. And it happens probably once in life that you find a track that you don't want to change anything, like the arrangement or the sound or just every little detail. And to me, it happened with this track, because I think it's perfect, 100% from the beginning to the end.
Wow, I mean that's high praise. And when you hear a track like that, like you say, as a producer, I remember, I can't remember who said it, but there's a quote of like, things aren't released, they just escape. And it's a case of, I'm sure there are things out there that you've released and you're like, oh, I wish I could change that, like you kind of said. But hearing something like that, like you say, you think is absolutely perfect. How does that make you feel? Does that give you a sense of competition, or does it make you feel jealous, or do you just, give it a round of
Uh,
applause?
yeah, jealous because we didn't do that. But, I mean, we were not able. He got a big voice, but it gives you the right inspiration to do something more in your job to do, because you always aim to something bigger than what you do. So and when you found it something bigger, you always want to reach that level. So it gives you every time the right inspiration to do better and better and better every time.
And your last tune, it's no surprise what you've chosen, but tell us what that track is.
It's our first single, Piece of Your Heart, because especially when we play, it happened in the last 2 years of touring, when we play, and everyone, I mean, when you stop playing and everyone is start screaming, last one, last one, last one, like that. You have to play something that they know, because they want to go home with another feeling, like they want just remember and sing the last song as fast as they can. So for us, in our set, the last track is Piece of Your Heart, because everyone know that track, and they want to sing that again, no matter if I already played 3 or 4 times during the set, but they want to hear that again one more time. So it's right there, because they pay tickets to see you, and if they want to have fun singing your music, I think you have to play.
That's a great way to look at it, yeah, because some people can become, or some artists can be quite precious about, like you say, if you've already played it, I won't play it again. But to give the people what they want and make sure they're satisfied and walking out singing that song, that's a great way to look at it.
I have an example. I obviously I can't say the name of the DJ, but I remember I was in a show, and there was the guest playing, and that guest got only one track that was big at that moment. And everyone was in the crowd with a cartel with the name of the track, and with t-shirts, with the title track on the t-shirt and all the stuff like that. And he didn't play the track for the entire set. Yeah, so I said, why? Why? What you're trying to tell to the fans, to the people? I mean, they're there for you because they love your music. So you have to give them both. Obviously, you have to give something new, but you have to give them your music, because they are there from you for you.
Yeah, it's a very, as an artist, it's a very interesting space to operate in like, I'm not going to deliver what the crowd are expecting, and it's a fine line. You don't want to piss off your audience, and you want them to have a good time, and to make that choice.
No, you're not like a jukebox. You don't have to give them what they expect exactly, but you just give them obviously what they expect, but in a different terms, like giving what they expect, but in the way they not expect. So I think that's the perfect balance.
It's a really good way of looking at it. And we always have one final question that we'd like to wrap up our conversation with, and it's around, we are house culture, and you are now an integral part of that culture and that scene. What does the whole culture of house mean to you, and what has it brought you in your career and in your life, and what do you think the future holds?
For me, it's everything. It helps me, and obviously Luke and Simone. I'm talking in behalf of Luke and Simone too. To grow up and do what we do as Medusa. It helps a lot, especially to me, because I love personally house music. I come from the underground scene, so as a DJ, so I really love this word, this music business. Sometimes I think, if I have to say a negative thing, I would like to change sometimes the mentality they have in house music, because a lot of people, especially coming from techno, they are not open in collaborating with other people coming from other styles. I totally respect that, but I think that no matter, as I said, no matter if it's techno, house, or pop, music is music. So we're just sharing the passion, and we're just telling story to the people, and everyone needs to be free in explaining this in the way they think is the right one. So you're not able to judge that you're not a techno house producer if you collaborate with other people coming from different genre of music. You're just trying to change what house is at the moment. You just change to doing the next step for this music business. And sometimes, not everyone understands this, and I'm really sad about that, because music has, and house music is a community. So we need all to share things and try to do the best for this business and for this kind of music. And this is what we love and what we do. This is music, basically, the meaning of music.
That is a brilliant place to end on. I think that's a really great final thought for this. So thank you very much.
Thanks to you for this lovely chat. Thank you so much for having me, and hopefully we're going to see you personally soon. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye.
House culture.
How good was that, right? I want to say a personal thanks to Matt for taking the time out of his hectic schedule for that chat, and for setting the record straight on that potential weekend collab. Let's try and make this happen for them though. Wasn't it also fascinating to hear how quickly things can blow up for you if you release the right track at the right time? I personally can't wait to hear what MEDUZA have in store for us, but if you're already a fan of their work, you can now buy a beautiful 10-inch vinyl picture disc that features both Piece of Your Heart and Lose Control. This is available from all the usual outlets. And if you want to hear more sick beats, then look no further than the House Culture Perfect playlist, which you can find on Spotify. You heard the submissions that Matt made for MEDUZA, and in that playlist you'll also find all of the choices from every single one of our previous podcast guests. As you can imagine, this is now a huge list of fan favourites, rare oddities and blissed out beats. So fire up your Spotify player, search for House Culture Perfect playlist, stick it on shuffle and turn it up loud. Also, if you want us to be able to produce this podcast series, please don't forget to support us by either the Acast supporter link in the episode description, or by loving, liking, tweeting, sharing and rating or reviewing us on Apple. We love reading your feedback, and if you say something particularly nice, we'll give you a shout out on a future episode as well. This time around I'm shouting out to Fiona Parkhouse, who left us the most touching of reviews on Instagram after she had listened to our Danny Rampling episode. She described how mine and Danny's chat about the beginnings of rave had really hit a nerve with her, and she wouldn't ever swap having been involved with something so special. Thanks for those amazing words, Fiona, and I hope that these new episodes will give you continued faith in our scene, as well as visions of the packed dance floors to come. And if you want to get yourself connected with other house music lovers from across the globe, then please hit up our Instagram feed at houseculturenet, or follow the hashtag #TrueHouseCulture. Not only will you be fully informed about the podcast, but you'll also be fully primed for the inevitable return to the club. And finally, if you want to get in touch with me, Matt Rouse, you can do that directly on Instagram at DJ Matt Rouse. Thanks for listening. Stay safe and see you next time.
House culture.